Digital show. We are back after a few weeks of hiatus. Wasn't a summer vacation though. The team has been traveling non-stop to bring you reviews of the latest car launches. I'm sure you're aware of all of it if you've been following our social media posts. In a few minutes from now, Bert and Rohit will join us to answer all your motoring queries. So dive right into our first impression of the Volkswagen Virtus. It's a new sedan. We've driven the sporty-looking GT variant. More from Bert.
In a marketplace dominated by SUVs, sedans, hatchbacks, MPVs and every other body style you could conceive of, well, they've taken a back seat. So every time we get the opportunity to drive a sedan or a hatchback, well, it's always a pleasure. Volkswagen's latest, this is the Virtus. Now, from what we know, just to give you an initial look at the Virtus, it is the longest sedan in its segment, almost 4.5 meters long. It's got a combination of two engines, all petrol, a 1.5 litre and a 1 litre petrol. Of course, that's mated to a combination of automatic and manual transmissions. But can a sedan like the Virtus, and especially this one, which is the GT version you're driving, create some amount of excitement in the market? Well, that's what I'm here to find out.
At 4.5 meters in length, the Virtus is a fairly large and long sedan. Add the clean, strong lines and a sleek silhouette and you have a very distinguished looking sedan with a sharp and powerful stance. It is a good looking sedan and without any frivolities has an understated appearance. The GT variant we drove has some smart design flourishes, especially at that front end.
So what does being the longest car in the segment mean? That 4.5 meters of length, well, that gives you an enormous amount of interior space, and as you can see, there is an enormous amount of knee room that I've got. There's quite a lot of headroom as well, and you can recline comfortably. These seats are well contoured, they're nice and supportive, and there is enough of under thigh support. I also like the quality of the leatherette that's been used inside this, and this is the GT version, so you've got this fantastic red stitch all across the seats. Well, the contours of your backrest also quite supportive. You've got these nice depressions in the backrest that supports your love handles. All in all, this is a nice plush cabin to be in. The quality of materials used is top notch, and I think whether it's for short journeys or even long ones for that matter, this is a very comfortable place to be in. I do like the way the interior looks. It's got this nice red accent on the dashboard, even the instrument binnacle right here behind the steering wheel. It's got these red accents on it. And this is of course exclusive to the GT variant. Now all of this makes it look fairly sporty, but here's what I think Volkswagen should have also tried to do, because the red elements, the red highlights on the dashboard, they make the dashboard look a little plasticky, and perhaps just having gone with an entirely black dashboard with a fewer red accents in place would have enhanced that sportiness value a little more than actually putting this massive red highlight across the dashboard. You will see that family resemblance, you will see that DNA emulated in a lot of the design language, but smaller and finer details like the control knobs, the switches, the display areas, well, they're quite unique and quite different between those products that lie in various segments. Another word of caution to all of you who are looking to buying the Virtus: the two output points in the front, and there are two additional points at the rear for the rear passengers, but all those 4 points are USB Type-Cs. So the car I'm driving, it's the GT variant, and what you essentially get is the 1.5 litre petrol engine in this, and that's clubbed with the 7-speed automatic transmission, DSG. You got paddle shifters right behind the steering wheel over here, and all of this is attuned to kind of give you that sporty, performance-oriented experience. And it's not too bad. Now I'm driving it in the sports mode, the S4. Acceleration is brisk, but as you accelerate harder and harder, well, that engine noise is quite audible inside the cabin. It's a fairly quick, a very brisk car. The red line on the Virtus 1.5 GT, well, that is tagged at 6,000 RPM, and In drive mode, well, the shift happens at about 1800 RPM to 2000 RPM. But if you had to slip it into sport mode on the gear lever, you'd go into sport mode. Effectively, the throttle, when you're full throttle on, the rev needle will go all the way up to 6000 RPM before it shifts up to the next gear. Shift speeds are quite impressive, whether you're going up or down the gears, thanks to this DSG gearbox. What you'd expect is that the fuel efficiency in a car of this sort, with these power outputs, 150 PS of max power, the kind of performance it is capable of, you'd expect the fuel efficiency to not be that good. But here's what it does. Now, the 1 litre turbo petrol, well, Volkswagen claims that that engine delivers about 19.4 kilometers per litre. Impressive. The 1.5, the GT version with the 7-speed automatic, however, gives you 18.67 kilometers per litre, which is also very, very impressive for a car of this order. Now, I can't tell you much about what the handling is like on the Virtus, and I do expect it will be impressive, given that it's got a nice stiff suspension setup, that McPherson at the front and at the rear, of course, the whole independent setup will do a fairly impressive job. Of that I'm confident. And a road test will let us know more about just handling dynamics. But just look at these roads, they're fantastic. I mean, the Virtus feels so comfortable driving it out here. The Volkswagen Virtus has got 2 tyre specifications. Now the 1 litre, well, that comes with 15-inch wheels and tyres, but the 1.5 litre, the GT version that I'm driving, now this one comes with 16 inches. This is the 205/55 R16 spec, and effectively that gets you better ride quality. Also gives you better dynamics, but it also takes a bit of a toll on fuel efficiency. So let me tell you more about the ride quality. It is quite pliant. These roads here in Amritsar are not the best quality. There's some broken surfaces, diversions that we're going through. But the ride quality is fairly plush. And while you can hear a few noises inside the cabin because the surface is that bad, it's nonetheless overall quite impressive. This only adds to the comfort quotient of the Virtus. And that means over long distances or even in urban areas, this would be a fairly comfortable car to drive. One interesting observation that I've had in the Virtus is that the A-pillar, well, that's fairly narrow, which means you've got great sight lines all across. As for safety, well, you get all the state-of-the-art safety features that you would want in a car of this sort. You've got multiple airbags, you've got ESP, you've got traction control, and a lot more. But yes, eventually, Global NCAP would take the Virtus down for a crash test, and we can just await for those results to know how the Virtus fares. Manufacturers these days offering ventilated seats. I mean, hats off to you that you're finally offering that feature in mass market cars. These ventilated seats are something that anyone could appreciate. Now, Volkswagen intends to launch this in the first week of May, which means it will go on commercial sale in just a few days from when you've seen this story. Pricing will be crucial, and while I expect the price gap between the 1 litre and the 1.5 litre petrol to be fairly competitive, I do hope that Volkswagen can keep the overall price band, the price structure for the Virtus very competitive. So between the 1 litre and the 1.5 litre, well, which one would I recommend? Well, I would recommend the 1.5. It is going to be more expensive than the 1 litre turbo petrol, but you certainly get a lot more grunt. Keep in mind, this 1.5 litre makes 150 PS of max power with 250 Newton meters of torque, which is a lot more than what you get in the 1 litre. You also get much better performance. It comes mated to the automatic transmission with the paddle shifters, and the fuel efficiency isn't too bad. 18.67, thanks to that cylinder deactivation, is very impressive. So all in all, as a driver's car, something that you would want to enjoy a lot more, this 1.5 Volkswagen Virtus is my recommendation.
Well, if you found that review very informative, you can share that story with your family and friends on, on various other platforms as well. It's on YouTube. Let's get Bert and Rohit on the show, please.
Hi,
Bert.
Sohini. Good evening. Hi,
Hi,
Rohit.
Rohit.
Hi, Bert. Hi, Sohini. Hi, hello, everyone. It's been a long time since we've done this. It almost feels like it's been a long time because we've been just traveling back to back, reviewing so many cars. All those stories are out on YouTube. But yeah, the traveling is it's resumed. It's resumed to normalcy. It almost feels like that.
Yeah, it's been a crazy few weeks, guys. And like I just put it out on the chats. I mean, I can tell you more about planes, airports, lounges, waiting rooms, ticketing, check-ins than I can tell you about the cars themselves. But yeah, we've got a show to go on with, and let's go on. And it's been a busy few weeks, guys. There's lots and lots of action that's been happening in the last 2 weeks. We've had roughly about 6 to 7 new products that we've seen, driven, experienced, and it's been fantastically busy, of course, but also fairly interesting. Somewhere down the line, I've kind of got lost, and I, in fact, recollect writing something about a small capacity engine on a large car that I was driving, and I suddenly realized that, man, what are you doing? This is not, all my stories got mixed up. But
Bert, I want to ask you one question for
yeah,
starters about the Virtus. In a market where SUVs are popular and even hatchbacks, get a lot of the sales volumes, basically, Volkswagen has brought in a sedan. What's your take on that?
well, what you need to look at from Volkswagen's perspective also is that they've offered before this, they've got the new Tiguan and they've got the new Taigun as well. So there are two SUVs that they already brought out earlier in the year. So as far as the SUV versus sedan debate goes on, Volkswagen has done still more in the SUV space than they've done in the sedan space. But it's a welcome addition at this point in time. What we also need to keep in mind is that the Polo has been discontinued, and the Virtus will essentially take the place of the Polo, both in terms of practicality, not in terms of price, because it is going to be significantly more expensive, but you've got a lot more space, you've got a lot more practicality, and you've still got the performance as well. That 1.5 liter, 150 PS, 250 newton meters of torque, that is fantastic for a car of this sort. Not bad at all. I was hoping to see a little bit more, maybe at some level Volkswagen could possibly tinker with this and get in a 180 PS engine. There was the notion that something of that sort would happen, and possibly that Volkswagen is looking at that. Maybe the race series that they will do eventually, which might have the Virtus in it as well, will possibly have one of those 180 bhp engines, and might offer that to the consumers sometime later. Let's hope, fingers crossed, that they do something interesting like that. But all in all, it's good to see a sedan back again. We've now got not just the Virtus, we've also got the Slavia in this segment, and let's not forget we've also got the Honda City Hybrid, which also, Sohini, you're going to be giving them a glimpse of the Honda City Hybrid as well in this show. So all in all, I think it's a strong season for sedans as well. The month of May and of course the first half, I'd say, of 2022 has been extremely strong for sedans as well. Three new sedans that we're going to be seeing in the market. We've seen one, and we've got two more coming out very shortly in this mid-size sedan segment. So interesting time for sedans as well. Let's see how all these three sedans can effectively change mindset in the consumer space.
And just to follow up with that question, are the days of the sedans back after the fad of SUVs? Can you call it a fad though?
Well, not really, Chuckmeister, because the SUVs are here to stay. Very clearly, in the next few weeks, next few months for that matter, also you will see a lot more in terms of SUVs coming. We've got the new Venue coming out. We've got the C3 from Citroen. So we are back to essentially SUVs again after this, short, I would say, change of atmosphere where sedans came in very strongly. But the SUVs will be coming back again with full force. What is clear is that the market is dominated at this point in time by SUVs very, very clearly. We see fewer and fewer sedans. One other sedan that we in fact recently drove was the Mercedes C-Class. Again, interesting car, and we'll have the story for you very, very shortly. Can't tell you more at this point in time because it's under embargo. But what I'd like to say is that yes, there are several sedans that have come into the market. There may be a few more, but largely the attention is going to be dominated by SUVs.
All right, very important question given that we can't escape the heat wave right now. Nitin Joshua wants to know how effective is the AC for the hot and humid Indian summers? Is there any difference between AC performance in the 1 liter and 1.5?
Nitin, not really. Good question also because where we drove the car, and technically I should have actually done a AC test. Rohit, we should have done this AC test in Amritsar because the ambient temperatures in Amritsar were touching 43 degrees, almost up to 44. It was crazy Indian summers, absolutely crazy. It's mad heat. But in the 1.5, and which I drove more extensively than I drove the 1 liter, there was absolutely no issues as such. The 1.5 air conditioner was working pretty fine. The 1 liter also worked pretty fine. There was never a point in time that I felt, too hot, too warm inside it. Did the performance drop in the 1 liter, essentially with the AC going full blast? Well, not really. It would take us a longer drive, a much longer drive in these kind of conditions to assess if there was a significant drop in performance with the AC on in either of these cars, or at least what was the drop in performance with the AC on. But the air conditioners work properly. They're conveniently placed. They're quite effective in that sense, and the fact that they're able to manage these high temperature conditions was quite commendable.
All right, Mohammad Uzair wants to know that apart from the AC performance, has Volkswagen managed to rectify issues such as door creaks, rattling noises?
Mohammed, well, these are new cars, brand new cars that we drove, and there really weren't any noises. I did mention in my story at one point in time that there was a little bit of noise from various areas creeping into the cabin, but that was on extremely bad surfaces. You saw those kind of surfaces, and on those surfaces, any car would get those noises out. But no extraordinary door noises or creaks or rattles or plastic fastenings creaking. None of those sounds at all. What you also got to keep in mind, most of the conditions, road conditions, are quite impressive in Punjab also. So for whatever for how it matters, the Virtus works pretty well in that sense. The only noise I think that kind of in the 1.5 was the engine noise that came inside the cabin, simply because every time you rev very hard, you take it up to the 6,000 RPM red line, you can hear the engine noise inside the cabin, and that can be a little disturbing. But this is not something that you would do regularly. In any case, you're not going to be belting that engine throughout every single time you get into the car. So in that sense, at lower RPMs, the engine is quiet, it's refined, it works very nicely. The high RPM engine noise also is essentially the performance noise that you would want to hear from an engine. That's all you want it. You want it to be revving. You want to hear that engine working its way through those gears. So that is essentially is the only noise that comes in to the Virtus at any point during your drive.
In fact, I'm going to
Okay,
add to
Gaurav.
that. I'm going to add to that a little bit. So in the Slavia drive, also I mentioned the same thing. This is something that we had asked Skoda as well. And yes, there have been learnings from the Kushak and the Taigun that the group has got. Customer complaints, customer feedback, whatever you might want to call it, and all of that has been fixed in the Slavia. I even pointed out, how the headliner quality has improved compared to the Kushak. So some of the fit and finish here and there has also improved. So all of this will also now flow down to the 2022 models of the Taigun and the Kushak. In fact, both the manufacturers have announced a bit of a price increase also. So all of this is sort of in line with all the little improvements that they've done, including some of the mechanical changes or some of the changes to the electronics. You would also recall the common EPC errors, the fuel pump errors that early on Kushaks were throwing up, and now all of that has been sort of ironed out. And all the cars that are rolling out in 2022 have all these little updates that they have sort of learned from the past year.
Talking
All
about
right.
these reliability issues, our long-term Scoda Kushak, in fact, went through a pretty bad patch because we also experienced the fuel leak from the fuel pump. And Anis, who's using the Kushak, because as an SUV, it helps him, it becomes very convenient for his shoots. So Anis had the SUV, the Kushak, and one day he had gone down to the pharmacy, and he had a full tank, almost a full tank of gas in that SUV, and all of it just leaked out, almost everything. Now, not only was this extremely dangerous because the fuel kept leaking all over the place. It was a short, fortunately for him, it was a short drive. It was just a 5 minute drive away from his place. But where he had parked, there was a massive puddle of fuel lying down on the floor, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. And the car's gone back to Skoda, of course, and they're rectifying the issue. But we know and we hear that this is a large, this is a problematic concern. And Skoda has addressed this. They have recalled several SUVs and are getting that fuel pump replaced. And I believe this is exactly what has been happening. This is what happened to our car, to our SUV as well. And we're still waiting for a replacement for them to come. And I'm hoping that that does not have any issues at all.
All right. Gaurav wants to know, how is the body roll compared to the Slavia?
But neither of these cars, Gaurav, neither the Slavia nor the Virtus for that matter, have got tremendous amount of body roll. The suspension is pretty stiff. The body roll is quite nicely controlled. It's got anti-roll bars, keep that in mind. So in that sense, the car is quite well sorted out. It feels quite linear. Performance is brilliant. Great set of tires also on the GT. You've got those 205 55s. So performance is ideal in that sense. Body roll is very, very well controlled. The ride quality also for that matter for the larger part of time, except for the absolutely horrid roads, the ride quality also is absolutely brilliant in that way. So all in all, this is typical German engineering. Everything is very taut. Everything is very well controlled. Things don't really make too much of how do I say, don't disrupt anything when you're driving the car. In that sense, I think it's a lot of fun. Uh, no dive. Again, the under braking, hard braking also absolutely no dive, quite flat and quite linear in that sense. So all in all, a very well sorted car.
All right. Sumit wants to know, can we call the Virtus the Indian Jetta?
Well, you can and cannot in a sense, Sumedh, because this car, keep in mind, is longer than the first generation Octavia. Okay, so in that sense, it's a fairly large car. Will and a version of this come out? Of course, the Jetta, if it comes out now, will of course be much longer, and they will revive that brand name. That it will be a much longer car than the Virtus for that matter. But this is longer than the first generation Octavia that we had in the country. And soon after that, keep in mind, almost that year, decade and a half ago, we got the Octavia coming into the country. Soon after that, the Jetta also came in. This is, if I'm not mistaken, almost as long as the Jetta, almost as large as the Jetta in that sense. So that way, you've got a fairly large premium sedan offering for consumers in this segment. Can you call it the Jetta necessarily? No. From what I remember and what I recollect, Jettas those days were predominantly diesel powered. You don't have diesel any longer in the Volkswagen fleet. That's one thing that you've taken out of the Jetta in any case. And that sedan it felt a lot more lower slung than the Virtus. The Virtus, you've got fairly good ground clearance, fairly good ground clearance. This platform essentially has been raised up and it also supports the SUVs. So keep that in mind. This is far more diverse in that sense. The Jetta was made purely as a sedan, and the low ground clearance, nice silhouette, fantastic profile, and a fantastic car to drive overall. That was also one of the earlier cars that had the DSG box in it. I remember having one that was the Passat that I had as a long termer, and that had a DSG box. And those early Passats, because I had a lot of issues. The DSG box that I had on my Passat also packed up. I had a massive issue with that because I was coming back from a shoot, trying to get to a meeting back in Bombay after that shoot, and I never made it to the meeting because the gearbox just packed up somewhere in the middle of Navla, and I had to call the helpline, get somebody to tow the car away. So all sorts of issues with that. But I'm hoping none of that exists with Volkswagen's current range of cars. I'm fingers crossed that those aren't major critical issues that occur any longer. But there you have it. Yes, the Virtus is, or rather, also could be a good replacement to the Jetta.
All right. Rohit, this is a follow-up to the previous question anyway. Dilip wants to know, did SUVs make a massive dent for other segment cars in the Indian market? Due to so many SUVs in the market, are brands doubtful of bringing other body types like campers and estates to India?
It's a bit of everything. If you don't look at the current scenario necessarily, yeah, SUVs are dominating the market right now. That is why even in my Honda City review, right at the conclusion, I said that the asking price of the City Hybrid is quite a bit of money for a dying segment like the sedan. So we are seeing this across price brackets that sedans are dying out. It's only in the luxury space where sedans are still almost neck to neck with their SUV siblings. But if you look at campers and station wagons and estates and everything, those body styles have never really taken off. Since we're on the topic of Skoda, Skoda has also sort of given us the Octavia RS in that combi body style, that estate body style. It never really took off. Mercedes brought, they also experimented. They tried the E-Class all-terrain in the Indian market. So those body styles, you will see at various points in time, these kind of body styles, different body styles have been given a chance, but there hardly have been any takers. The Volvo V90 Cross Country, what a lovely car. I mean, even today I would want to buy one of those if I had the money. But, the market has not really reacted in the same way. So yes, it's not necessarily the SUVs. It's just that the market probably doesn't want to experiment, because India also, remember, is a very resale value sensitive market. Resale value of a product is very, very important to most buyers, and that's across segments. It's not just the entry level or not just the low cost segments, but even in the luxury space, the resale value matters a lot. And when you try something different like this, the resale value of the vehicle could get affected quite a bit. You will see the same V90 Cross Country that I'm talking about. They are going for ridiculously low prices at the moment. Similarly, if you see stuff like the E-Class all-terrain, you may not find it to begin with, but if you do, it will certainly not have the same kind of resale value that an equivalent E-Class would, or E-Class sedan or saloon would. So that resale again affects how much of an experiment manufacturers might really do with different body styles. So it's not necessarily SUVs, but yeah, SUVs are a safe bet right now. That is why you now also have hatchbacks that are trying to look like SUVs. You have a Tata Punch, you have the Renault Kiger, you have the upcoming Citroën C3 Aircross, which are essentially the footprint and the equipment and the size of a hatchback, but they're trying to be SUVs. So SUVs is the safe bet, let's put it that way. And that is why, instead of experimenting with different body styles, manufacturers prefer to go with tried and tested body styles, which they know customers want, and they would rather put their money there.
All right. Here's
Well,
another
it's not just
question from.
it's not just that. It's also the fact that guys, manufacturers have to consider the fact whether other body styles will make sense in the market. Will they have enough of a demand for them? When we say campers and everything else, you're talking about very minuscule numbers, probably a few dozen vehicles that they would sell in a year. Now, to set up an entire production line for that, to kind of set up an entire back end service infrastructure for it, to make sure there's a parts inventory for it when anything goes wrong, all that is expensive work. It becomes more expensive if your volumes are very, very small, for that matter. Even today, for instance, Mercedes Benz, even if they do, they've done just 4,000 cars the earlier quarter. But for that, all for those kind of numbers, also, we're talking about the numbers that are extremely small for them to manage that entire the low quality, low scale production and sale. Becomes a fairly expensive job, and that expense, of course, gets carried on, rather passed on to the consumers at the end of the day. And then, do you want to be in that situation? Yes, it'd be nice to have various body styles and different lifestyle vehicles as well. We all want that, but is it financially possible? Absolutely not.
All right, we'll move on to other questions. Um, we have a question here from Your Boxy. He says, "Hi guys, I love the Nissan Kicks 1.5 liter top variant for 2 liter." Okay, he's
For
upgrading
one
from a.
for 1.2 liter on the road.
Yeah. Okay. So he's upgrading from a 2006 model of the 1.5,
1.4
1.4 Ford Fiesta. Do you guys think he should, or should he go for the Kiger Turbo manual version, the top variant, for 11.2 lakhs
1.2
on
lakhs.
the road?
Well, I would recommend going in for the Kiger, the turbo. The Nissan Kicks, again, low volumes, not too many takers for that at this point in time. I would definitely recommend the Kiger, because you will have, like I just mentioned, you will have better after sales service because it's a larger volume vehicle, so there is a better setup and more effort taken by the dealers and the manufacturer to service that car at the end of the day. All in all, it's also a fairly spacious SUV, or rather, I would say crossover, with good efficiency, decent performance, but good ride quality for a vehicle in that order, in that segment. So my recommendation, yes, certainly go for the Kaiga. I think you would enjoy that. And also keep in mind, was the winner of a comparison test, a group comparison test in that segment. So yes, it's got everything going for it. Good value for money package overall. 11.2 lakhs on the road is not a bad price at all for that vehicle.
All right. Avas wants to know, do you think the Slavia and Virtus missing out on the 360 camera at this price point would be a deal breaker?
No, not at all, Avas. I don't think so. That is a deal breaker. Missing out on simple small features like this is really not going to be so much of an issue. Uh, I mean, you're not able to use these features all the time. It becomes initially people are fascinated by this and they would use it once or twice, and then after that, no one really pays attention to it as such. So it's not something that would be a deal breaker. Today's day and age, given the conditions that we're living in, I think having or not having ventilated seats could be a deal breaker. And in that sense, Volkswagen has done the right thing by offering ventilated seats. So that I think, for instance, is a fantastic feature. I'd pay more attention to features like the ventilated seats and the 360-degree camera. That's my take.
Okay. Rohit Pranav wants to know any news on the new version of the Honda CB 500X launching in India. It's been available in other markets for a while now.
Well, I'm not sure, Pranav. We did hear that Honda is considering bringing the newer CB500X, and that was one of the reasons why they offered those big discounts on last year's model, because they wanted to get rid of those stocks. But we still don't know if the new one will come out, because remember the CB500X had a very, very lukewarm response. So I'm not very sure if they will bring in the updated model to India. So I don't have any news as of now.
Okay. And
We need to
Rohit,
take this one question. We need to take this one question. Have you done we'll come back to the M4 competition in a while, but here's a good question from Ashish Deshpande. Do you think Ola Electric is subjected to exaggerated criticism? There have been many more scooter fires from different companies, but nobody talks about them. Your thoughts? Ashish, very relevant question, very important question also today. Yes, I do believe Ola Electric is subjected to exaggerated criticism. I wouldn't say it's exaggerated criticism, but is subject to a lot more criticism than everybody else. There have been plenty of fires from other manufacturers, from EVs and from other manufacturers as well, and they have not got enough attention devoted to their issues and to what they've been offering in the market. Essentially, because let's face it, a lot of those were substandard scooters that cut corners and effectively were recalled as well. Ola, for that matter, has done a better job, I would say, in terms of quality. I'm not saying it's 100% or fantastic at the end of the day, but what we need to keep in mind is Ola is the one manufacturer that has been screaming the loudest about how good their products are, about how futuristic and how revolutionary the company is, and the way they've been conducting business. And unfortunately, it hasn't really worked to plan. Deliveries, the delay in deliveries, the issues with registration, the issues in sales, the issues with the product eventually. Well, all of this is showing them in very, very poor light. Now, these are initial teething issues, and over time, I know all of these will get sorted out. This is a new business. It's a new business model for that matter, something that has never been done in the country. So, a lot of these issues will exist for a short period of time. They will get ironed out shortly. There were concerns about how, for instance, would some owners who had booked scooters in Andamans and in Leh would get deliveries, and this would take some time. Possibly, they might not get the scooters immediately, and Ola will figure out ways and means of getting the products across to them. But what we should not forget is today Ola is the largest EV maker in the country, or rather, the largest EV seller in the country. They've sold the most number of electric scooters in the country. Far they've outrun Hero Electric for that matter. So that's a big, big step forward for them in a way. What I'm very keen to see is what is the succession plan. The Ola S1, well, no one's really buying an S1. Ola S1 Pro, yes, S1 Pro is doing all the numbers, but what is the plan henceforth? Because we've not heard anything from the Dutch company as well as to the next product line. And that is my concern. What is it going to be next? All I hear from Ola is about them making an electric vehicle, electric car next, and then an autonomous car next. And I don't know where this is going. So eventually, I mean, what Ola Electric is leading up to is, I think in the next 10 years, Ola Electric will be making planes as well, or boats also for that matter. And great if they can, and it can go and be a complete engineering solution, an automotive or other mobility solution for that matter. Would be fantastic to see them doing that. But I'd like to see in the two-wheeler space what is the succession right now that they've got two products out in the market and they're doing well. I'd like to know what is the next step for them. What are the next lot of products that are going to come out in the two-wheeler space, scooters or motorcycles from Ola Electric? Uh, the hype that they have themselves built has kind of backfired on them. They've had critical issues happening to their products, and that doesn't leave anybody in a good taste. Because let's face it, today Ola Electric is one of the forebearers of electrification in the country, especially two-wheeler electrification, and everyone expects that they need to have very, very high standards, and those standards aren't as high as we all expected it to be. uh, and this, in the current generation of automotive engineering, is not expected. We require and we expect a higher level of quality, a higher level of finesse, fewer issues, fewer glitches. But unfortunately, what we're seeing are a lot more problems than solutions being offered at this point in time. If you are going to go to town and tell people that my scooter has got a hyper mode and that can be ridden really fast, well, you have to expect people to ride those scooters fast. And then, if there are certain issues, then the liability falls on the manufacturer as well, not just on the user at the end of the day. So, yes, I do think Ola is being subjected to a lot of criticism. It's not exaggerated, a lot of this is based on fact. But yes, at the same time, there needs to be a lot more done about the other manufacturers in the market, and a lot of them who are fly by night operators as well, who are just getting in scooters, I believe, at this point in time, without a proper plan in place for future generations.
All right. Coming back to the question from Aman, have you driven the BMW M4 competition, and how does it fare against the Jaguar F-Type?
The M4 competition, I've driven it not in India, but I've driven it in South Africa. Very, very short period of time. Fantastic car. And from what I remember, and this was quite some time ago, almost, this was just before the lockdown, in fact. And from what I recollect, was it's extremely light, it's very, very agile, and very quick, of course. But more than that, it's the dynamic ability of this car. I mean, just driving it on the racetrack, I drove it at Calamy in South Africa, and it just felt mind-numbingly quick, mind-numbingly agile. That's the one biggest factor I remember about the M4 competition, was the lightness and how quick it felt. The steering felt absolutely light. It literally felt like you were flying low. The F-Type, and the F-Type was driven a really long time ago. I don't even know if Jaguar is selling F-Types at this point in time in India, if anyone is actually buying an F-Type in India for that matter. But the whole F-Type experience is a sensory experience. It's about the noise, it's about the amount of noise that supercharged engine makes, and the way it fills your every sense and, overwhelms you. That is an experience that BMW, the M4 competition, is not able to provide. That is purely the domain of the F-Type. It is a gorgeous looking car. It's a phenomenal sounding car. I do wish that we had access to both these cars in India and we could do a comparison test someday, but I doubt that is ever going to happen.
Rohit, Abhishek Mishra wants to know, with all the 650cc adventure tourers being introduced in India, do you see the Kawasaki Versys 650 standing a chance, since there has been practically no change to the engine for some time now?
Yes, Abhishek, I think it still stands a very good chance, because one of the reasons why it is one of the best selling bikes in the segment is because of the price. Because there have been no changes over the years, the price of the motorcycle can be maintained at that particular point. Similarly, the service cost can also be sort of capped at a particular point, and that sort of gives them, good profitability. Yes, it's not the cheapest bike to own, because the service costs are on the higher side compared to even the very expensive Honda. It is also higher than the recently launched Tiger Sport 660. But for some people, the math works the other way around. They are okay with a slightly higher service cost because it's once in a while, versus paying a very big premium to buy the product itself. So that is where the Versys has been getting very good numbers, and it's also going at discounts right now. But if you look at the overall 650cc adventure segment, or the touring segment, that segment itself is not as hot as say the next level, the middleweight adventure motorcycles, right? Something like the Tiger 900 or the used Tiger 800s, the recently launched BMW F850. So they offer a lot more value. Of course, if you were to compare it to the pricing of a Versys 650, they are almost double the price. But people would rather upgrade to those because they are much better motorcycles. They offer a lot more scope. They let you do a lot more. So people who are on a budget, then they obviously look at the Versys 650 to be the more value for money offering. And this is where I think Triumph lost the plot a little bit. If they would have priced the Tiger 660, the Tiger Sport 660 better, at least a lakh cheaper than what it is right now. If it was less than 10 lakh rupees on road, they would have just nailed it, because with the current EMI structures and everything, probably the person spending 7.5 lakh rupees for the Versys could still probably think of buying the Tiger 660, get that extra cylinder, get those extra electronics, etc. So yes, the Versys still has a case for itself. Maybe in India, may not be globally, and probably that is where they will now start need to innovating and bring out a fresh new Versys 650. This platform has been literally, it's a bit too long in the tooth now. It's showing its age in terms of the way the chassis behaves, the way the engine puts out power and everything. So I'm hoping that a new Versys 650 or the new 650 platform from Kawasaki will be shown in a year or two from now, because they desperately need it. But as of now, at least in India, the Versys 650 still has a strong case for itself given its pricing.
Okay, we'll take one last question before we run through the news. But Lazy Wanderer says Scorpio is officially teased, or has it been? Because 3 hours ago, Mahindra has put out a social media post on Instagram, and they call it the big daddy of SUVs. So we don't know whether it's the Scorpio or not. What's the expected date, and will the present generation continue to be sold alongside?
Do you want to answer that?
Yes, so I have not seen the teaser yet, but yes, I have sort of heard about what Sohini just said, and I think they are hinting at the Scorpio, because that vehicle has been long time coming, and I think they are going to follow the same pattern that they followed for the Thar and for the XEV 700. So we will hear something just before August of this year, and around the 15th of August, I think they will again make us come and drive that vehicle on Independence Day. But yeah, the Scorpio is coming. What's the expected date? Like I said, I think 15th of August when they will give us the first prototypes of the vehicle to drive, the first production ready prototypes. And will the present generation continue to be sold alongside? I don't think so. I don't think they will do that. I think that car, like I said, has been showing its age, so that is going to go out. And the new Scorpio is tech laden, and given the pricing at which the XEV 700 has been launched right now, I'm really wondering where are they going to place that Scorpio with all the big promises that they are making in terms of the space, in terms of the engineering, in terms of the features that are being offered. I think they're going to price it really well. Obviously, it can't be the flagship. It's not going to be pricier than the flagship, which is the XEV 700. So I think they're onto something big again.
Okay, we'll run through the news then.
But you're on mute. But you're on mute.
Before the end, just to give you some news, before the end of this month or early next month, we will have a lot of news coming out about the Scorpio. By July, you will see or hear something official coming up about the new Scorpio. So that is already in the pipeline. Alongside that, and keep in mind, Mahindra for the last couple of years has been targeting the August 15th to do these big bang announcements. But this year, I don't think it's going to be the Scorpio. There's going to be some other larger, bigger announcement coming up sometime around August 15th. So the Scorpio is going to precede what is happening in this space. And it will be, yes, of course, big. Of course, it is one of the largest selling SUVs in the country, or at least was one of the largest selling SUVs in the country. And it's got big shoes to fill in compared to what the XUV has got. But yes, I completely agree with you as to where is that Scorpio going to fit in this new order scheme of things that Mahindra has put into place. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how they position it and what happens to the Scorpio, and if it is better than the previous generation one. Because let's face it, I'm no big fan of Scorpio. I'll give you this much. This is a very interesting story that we've had about the Scorpio. Is that almost every brand new Scorpio that we drove from Mahindra's plant for a road test, and this is from the first generation up to the last generation, has broken down before we actually got home. And so this essentially says a lot about the quality. I'm hoping for the first time that if I get my hands on the Scorpio this time, that I'm able to drive it off from wherever, reach home, do a test, do a shoot, finish off everything before anything bad goes wrong, before anything bad happens. But yeah, fingers crossed.
But today we heard two stories like this, huh? You spoke about the Passat and about the Scorpio, huh?
Well, yes, reliability is a big concern, and I'm experiencing this myself, and I keep hearing about this from consumers. And let's be very transparent about it. Reliability is a major issue with most manufacturers today. Almost every manufacturer has consistent recalls happening. Some parts of the other going wrong. And in worst case scenarios, like in the case of the Ola electric scooter, also, I mean, there are chances that people could lose their lives, almost lose their lives. We heard about one electric vehicle, electric scooter fire, where an elderly gentleman lost his life as well because of burns created from that fire in the scooter. So this is not the time, to be honest. We're in a situation where we are focusing so much on adding value and adding features and glamming up and dolling up our vehicles that we forget that at the end of the day that vehicle has got to run through myriad conditions at the hands of myriad people, and it needs to work flawlessly in every situation, in every condition, in every period. Unfortunately, that is not what is happening. We are kind of glossing over certain very critical issues, and I think manufacturers need to look harder into how they're manufacturing their products and making sure that they last and they're able to handle every single thing. Even in the case of Mahindra, for that matter, let's face it, the XUV 700 wasn't flawless. It had many, many flaws in its initial period, in its initial run, and some of those flaws still continue to be there, to continue to exist. So it's not entirely flawless even now. So if I'm going to be paying a fair amount of money at the end of the day for a vehicle, then I want to see something that is perfect. I am not making compromises. I cannot be walking into a showroom and saying, I don't walk into a showroom and say, I'd like a discount of about a lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees. Can you cut out some money? And then, in which case, yes, fair enough. The manufacturer can say, you asked me for a lower price, I'm giving you a lower priced vehicle. And that argument then works. But if I'm expected to pay what the manufacturer is asking of me, then I expect to be getting almost everything that the manufacturer is promising.
All right. So we'll just quickly run through the news, starting off with the hybrid Honda City, which has been launched in a single top spec trim at 19.50
Shift
lakh.
speeds.
That makes it 4 lakh rupees more expensive than the standard CVT variant. Expensive, but it's what we were expecting for a strong product that offers new hybrid tech with impressive fuel efficiency and a raft of advanced driver assist systems. Ahead of its launch on May 11, Tata Motors has teased videos of the long-range Nexon EV on social media, which, apart from the bigger capacity battery, now shows a new rotary gear selector that even includes a park mode. A significant addition seems to be the addition of 2 selectable regen modes. We'll bring you more information, of course, from the launch floor. Scoda Auto India has partnered up with Flipkart to set up a standalone high-visibility brand store on the Flipkart app. So very soon, you'll be able to pre-book yourself a Skoda car or schedule a test drive via a Flipkart app, thus improving the brand's automotive digital retail experience. Volkswagen India has now added an idle start-stop function and TPMS to all of its Taigun models, but this will now come at a premium as the manufacturer has also hiked prices for this SUV by 2.5 to 4%, bringing up the cost between 11.40 to 18.60 lakh rupees ex-showroom. And while bookings of the new Mercedes-Benz C-Class are already open, the manufacturer unveiled the C-Class ahead of its launch on May 10th. The Mercedes-Benz has also confirmed that they will not be bringing a long wheelbase version of the C-Class. We will bring you the review on Monday at 12 noon. And we also have news that Audi India has opened bookings for the new A8L for a booking amount of 10 lakh rupees. Moving on to the two-wheeler news, Rohit.
Right. So we have the TVS N-Torque, which has been updated now. I mean, there's a new variant. We already saw the Race XP variant come out, and now there is the N-Torque 125 XT, which has been launched in the market. It's about 13,000 rupees more expensive than the Race XP, which brings its ex-showroom price to 1.03 lakh. I think it looks quite nice in terms of the graphics that they've done. But more importantly, what it gets, or its claim to fame rather, is the twin instrumentation setup that it now gets. It's got a digital instrumentation which can pair with your phone, and you have 2 features for it. 2 features that everyone's now going to talk about with this scooter. It's a very popular scooter for the college guys, right? And this one has the Smart Connect features that have been now extended to give you even voice functionality. So you can, do certain voice functions for the scooter. Basically say it to the scooter and it will do it for you. Give you the real-time fuel economy and stuff like that. So it's a conversation starter. Let's just put it that way. So that is one of the new features, and the other feature is called the Smart Track. So the Smart Track will essentially, keep you in track, keep you up to date with your weather and the latest news and all those kind of things. So there are inbuilt apps to do all of this, give you all that information, so to say. So it is connected. It is connected tech that is being brought to a scooter at this particular price point. That is why it's going to be a big conversation starter, is what I think. And it has, quite a strong competition right now coming in from Suzuki and Honda. And I think, and also from all the electric scooters that have been doing the rounds, right? So scooters like the Ather 450X. So yes, there is quite a bit that TVS keeps doing with their scooters and motorcycles every year. And the XT is another proof of that. So that's the TVS. And then we also have news from the KTM stable. The KTM 390 Adventure has been updated for 2022. There are a few changes. So Sohini, do we have the video, or do you just want me to say it all out?
No, we'll go through the video.
Okay, great.
So Rohit is no, Vivek, this is not the video. So Rohit, you just went to the dealership and you got us a walk around just a couple of minutes before the
show started. That is why I was a little late in coming online. But
so we'll
we have a video, and our producers will now play that for you. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. This is Rohit Paradkar, and with me here are the 2022 KTM 390 Adventures. Two of them, because there are new colors now and a few more changes. Let me quickly show you what's changed. So let's begin with the most obvious changes, and those are the new color options. So here you will see the darker color shade. This is the dark Galvano black is what they call it, and the other one is the KTM Racing Blue. So I'm just going to give you a closer look at both. You'll see here on the panels you get this new blue, and on the tank you get this lovely matte blue finish, and then you have these white accents, subtle white accents here, and right at the back you get this white panel. Now there's a Vwtaigun claw attached to this to show the accessorized version. That's why you can't see the whole panel, but this is white in color, and down below there will be the 390 Adventure badging. On this side you will see the dark Galvano black. So essentially it's like a slate finish, a dark gray finish with those orange accents, and the tank is done up in matte black. The rear panel is again that dark gray with the 390 Adventure written on it. The other bit of exterior change is the wheel. Not something that you can easily notice, but this is now a 5-spoke or a 10-spoke wheel, depending on how you want to count it. If you want to count these as 2 separate spokes, then 10-spoke. If you want to count that as one single unit from the hub, then a 5-spoke wheel instead of a 6-spoke or a 12-spoke wheel. So why they've done this is essentially this new design allows them to have better stiffness, better rigidity, and better endurance for the wheel. Since this is an adventure, you're going to be going off-road, jumping often, they've given you slightly stronger wheels. And the third major change is the riding modes. There are now 2 riding modes. So here I'll show it to you on the screen using the settings button. Let's go into the ride mode. You will see that new mode right here. Let's select that, and there you will see the 2 riding modes, street and off-road. And once you select them, you will see what mode you've selected right here. So previously you could only see the ABS and the traction control setting, and now you have the ride mode that displays right there. So this will only make changes to the traction control and not to the ABS. I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity. If I were to put it in off-road mode, it should have also made changes to the ABS, but it's not doing that. That's how it is on most of the motorcycles where you choose the riding mode, and if you choose the off-road mode, it will also make settings or changes to the anti-lock braking system. Here it is only making it to the traction control. So what that essentially means is that it will make the traction control a little bit more lenient, which means that when you're riding off-road, it will allow a certain degree of slip before it will help you out. It is not completely turned off, but it will allow a certain degree of slip so that you can enjoy your off-road rides. And the other good bit is that if you're in the off-road mode, in case you stall the motorcycle and drop it while you're on your off-road trails, it will not switch back to the street mode, or it will not turn traction control back on. It will still stick to the off-road mode. If you turn off the ignition completely and then you switch it on, let's see what happens. Well, it still stays in off-road mode. So that is a very good thing. We haven't put it to the test because we haven't ridden the motorcycle yet, but yeah, these are the changes. The other things on the chassis don't change, like the frame, the guards, the engine, that 373cc engine, all of that remains unchanged. Nothing else changes here. The tire choices also still remain the same. The tire sizes remain the same. The wheel sizes remain the same. It's just the colors, the riding modes, and the wheels. So let me know, what do you think about the 2022 KTM 390 Adventure? KTM Baner in Pune has been kind enough to let us shoot and bring you these changes right here on video. If you have any comments, if you have any feedback about the motorcycles, let us know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching.
All right. First question, Rohit, ride modes don't change engine maps?
No, they don't. They only make changes to the traction control settings, and that's about it. No change to the engine maps as such.
Okay. I think that was the only question about the KTM right now.
Right. So if you recall from the ride that we did and the motorcycles that were sold up until now for the 390 Adventure, this was a common complaint, right? That every time you would stall the motorcycle, you would have to go back into the traction control settings and turn it off if required. And this is essentially coming from that. These ride modes are coming from that. They should have just called it traction control modes, I think. Ride modes suggest something else. That's why I said it's a missed opportunity. For you to turn off ABS, you still have to go into the ABS menu and turn it off manually. So the ride mode should have been more than that. They should have also made changes to the engine maps like you asked, but no. So if you still need that stronger low end, you will have to play with the sprocketting a little bit. The ride mode is not going to help you on that.
Okay, Rohit, Nitin Joshua really wants to know, does the new C-Class have ventilated seats?
It has perforated seats. I couldn't find a ventilation function. I promise I looked. So did Bert. We did not find any ventilation function or any switch for it. So I don't think there is a ventilated seat option. No.
All right. Yet another question from Schaffmeister. No word on adjustable suspension for the KTM?
No, unfortunately not. So I even had a word with the dealer and some other dealers in the past as well. So, they aren't really too keen on selling the power parts or the power wear, because the dealers are apparently not very supportive of the idea. The dealers are like, no, the customers are just going and, buying aftermarket parts, and we don't think they're going to sell for the kind of pricing that KTM expects for the power parts or the power wear. And what I've heard from KTM is, not officially, but, the kind of hints that they've dropped about these two catalogs is that they wouldn't want to do a half-hearted job by only giving certain components here and not the entire catalog, because today's customer is well versed, and they might come back and say, I want this and that and that and that, and they may not be able to support all of that, is what KTM says. Also, I'm hearing that there haven't been enough customers going up to the dealerships and saying that, hey, we need adjustable suspension on this motorcycle. We are willing to pay whatever the premium is. So apparently not many requests either from the customers or from prospective customers. So they don't seem too keen about launching that. So no official word on the adjustable suspension.
Rohit, when is the Citroën C3 launch?
I'm expecting the launch to happen sometime next month because we've been invited to come and drive the production prototypes very soon. So I'm guessing, the way they have designed the drive itinerary and everything, it should be end of June, or at least they would announce bookings, by the end of June, and maybe go into July for the actual launch. So in the next couple of months is where you're looking at the C3 launch, is what I would say. Because now remember, Jeep and Citroën, they function in India as the Stellantis group. And right now Jeep is sort of focusing on the Meridian. The bookings have opened for the Meridian. We expect the launch to happen in June. Similarly, I think they will quickly follow it up with the C3 launch by the end of June or early July. So in the next couple of months, or maybe 2-3 months, you should have the C3 in the showrooms.
All right. But what is Mahindra doing to improve the wait times for the XUV 700 and the Thar?
Well, Siddharth, honestly, they are not in a position to do much, to be honest, because unless and until semiconductors and supply chain issues are sorted out, not just Mahindra, almost every manufacturer has got major concerns with delivering the products on time. Keep in mind the XUV 700 for that matter, even the Thar uses a lot of semiconductors because a lot of electronics on board now, and that semiconductor shortage continues to be there, continues to exist, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. It's not just the semiconductor issue that is causing a concern. It's also supply chain. Supply chains have been backed up for several months, and that's the larger issue that most manufacturers are facing at this point in time. There are a few of the products that still come from overseas, for that matter, and until and unless all of those are sorted out, this is going to be a problem for a while, for quite some time.
Rohit, Bernard wants to know, is Honda launching any new motorcycles this year? If there are many of them which are going to launch, can you do a video for the same?
That's not a bad idea. Let me first see what is Honda planning to launch. Like we just said on, previously on the show that the CB500X could be considered. We are still not very sure on what is happening there. We'll have to see. We'll have to, get a few feelers from Honda on if and what they are launching in the country right now. But I don't think there are going to be a lot of motorcycles. If anything comes to your mind, just write in the comment section right away, or just tell us what do you think, what do you expect from Honda this year, and we'll certainly ask Honda about it. But as of now, I don't think there's anything. Maybe a few color updates here and there for the existing portfolio, but all new products, I can't think of any.
There's another interesting question for you that I want to take. There are a couple of other questions that I want to take right now. One of them comes from. Give me a second. Yeah.
There's one from Pranav Shruti, which is interesting. What
No, there's one
about
more.
the
Just
electric
coming.
cars?
Dilip Kumar Reddy. Did Tata Motors shelve the plans of Racemo and Sierra since Pratap Bose moved to Mahindra? Also, Tata Curve and Avinya are 4.3 meters in length, but body types are different, have range of 500 kilometers. Why? Okay, first, Racemo and the Sierra. Now, the Sierra has not been shelved as of now. Keep that in mind. Okay, the Racemo plans have been shelved, and nothing's going to happen on with Racemo. But Sierra may happen again. They've showcased it at the Auto Expo, and it's a matter of time before that nameplate comes back to life. But especially with the electric, for that matter, and it has got nothing to do with Pradap Bose moving to Mahindra or anything for that matter. These they've got a plan already in place. Like Tata Motors has already said, they've got 10 cars, 10 electric vehicles coming out till by 2025, and so far we've only seen about 4 of them in that new plan of theirs. Jaguar EV, the Nexon long range, the Curve, and the Avinya. These are 4 of the cars that we've seen so far, and there are several more to come in under that 10 electric vehicle plan of theirs. Now, the Tata Curve and the Avinya, again, the Tata Curve is a different platform compared to the Avinya. The Curve is part of their Gen 2 vehicles, and under the Gen 2 vehicles, the architecture supports both ICE engines, that is internal combustion engines, and electrification. And that's what exactly the Curve is. It will have both a diesel or petrol powertrain, and of course, will have the electric powertrain as well. But Gen 3 vehicles, which is what the Avinya is based on, and that's where the entire skateboard architecture also comes in. There's another question about the skateboard architecture. I don't remember that, but the Gen 3 is the skateboard architecture on which any top hat could sit comfortably, and that is where the Avinya is. So range on both these vehicles, Gen 2 will be 400 kilometers plus, not 500 kilometers. But on Avinya, the range will be 500 kilometers plus. That's the commitment that Tata Motors has made to their consumers. So both of these are different platforms, different segments of vehicles with different characteristics and different offerings for the consumer. They are not the same vehicle, they're not common platforms, they're not similar, they're not sharing that. The Tata Curve, keep in mind, is an extension of the Nexon platform and goes a little for takes that same platform further ahead. But the Avinya is entirely new from the ground up. All right,
But
that
since
was
we're
one.
talking about
Yes.
Since we're talking about the Tatas, Lazy Wonder also wants to know how much more expensive will the Nexon EV Max be compared to the one on sale?
It will be expensive, more expensive, of course, but I would expect a price in roughly about a lakh and a half more than the existing Nexon EV because with the range that this new set of batteries will come in, it's not going to be tremendous. What we're seeing real world mileage coming in from the Nexon EV is close to about 200, roughly around 200 kilometers of range, and I think this will go up to about at best 280 to 300 kilometers of range from the Max, from the EV Max, from the Nexon EV Max. So that means you've got a slightly larger battery pack sits in there with a little more density, and batteries being expensive, you will pay a little more for that, but it will not be more than lakh and a half more expensive than the existing Nexon EV. It shouldn't be.
Okay, Pranav Shruti says, Hi bot, when electric vehicles account for more than 50% of the total sales, how do you think Indian manufacturers will manage components like lithium? And like petrol, prices of electric cars will go up.
Yes, absolutely, Pranav. Now, okay, first and foremost, we don't make cells in India as of yet. There are very few companies that are making cells in India. Just less than a handful for that matter. I think there are just one or two manufacturers currently making cells. Most of the cells are imported. They come and they're placed in battery packs, and then those modules come down to India, and then the entire battery pack is assembled over here. That is essentially what is happening currently within India. So if there is a global shortage, and there will be a global shortage for lithium, keep that in mind. But there's already work going on other technologies to get you better technologies rather than just depend on lithium for that matter. The mining of lithium also keep in mind, and various other minerals, cobalt and things like that there are several issues with that. A lot of global concerns over the way these minerals are sourced, the availability of them. We haven't essentially taken sustainable mobility to a whole new level, because keep in mind, at one point in time, what we were doing with ICEs was that you were still taking from earth a lot of oil. Now also you still need a raw material, which means there's still going to be elements taken out from the earth, and you're not essentially, these are irreplaceable. They've got short lifespans for that matter, as in the availability of lithium is limited. So these issues are going to happen in the future. Now, like petrol, prices of electric cars also will go up. Absolutely, it's not just the prices of electric cars for that matter, it's the price of electricity that will also go up. Currently, what you're getting as more and more electric vehicles come into the market, step into the market, price of electricity is definitely going to go up, because there just won't be enough electricity to cater to the demand of electric vehicles. We've already seen major concerns in various other countries. Japan, for instance, has already said that their grid cannot support if the electrification, if everything goes electric, they just don't produce and manufacture. They don't produce enough of electricity for to cater to that entire volume of cars, commercial vehicles, buses, and everything that are going to be there on their roads. And likewise, India will also face a similar problem. There will just not be enough electricity to power every single car abundantly. India also has got major other issues, like distribution of power is a big concern. Again, not all states generate enough electricity. We've got enough of electricity issues everywhere. Gurgaon, for example, Gurgaon runs on the diesel generators. Their entire town runs on diesel generators, and when electric vehicles get more and more prominent, uh, there's going to be enough of power to charge electric vehicles in that part of the country. So lots of issues like this. It's a big discussion, but hopefully someday we may see some solutions. What the solutions will be at this point in time, we're not entirely clear, but there will certainly be solutions.
Rohit, Bernard is still a
So
fan of Honda motorcycles, so we'll get back. But
yeah.
he wants to know: Is Honda launching any new motorcycles which are in direct competition to the Scram 411 and the 350cc?
They could actually do that. You're absolutely right, because that 350 platform that they created for the Highness, they want to sort of expand that platform as much as they can. And we had asked them during the first ride that we did for the CB350 RS, where they did those knobby tires on the RS, which was supposed to be a road sport. So or road sailing as they used to call it. So that time they didn't completely dodge the question, but they said, they are looking at it. They're not very sure. They may approach this segment a little differently, which turned out to be the CB500X, but at a ridiculously high price. So it wasn't in the same range as the Himalayan or the Scram or the ESD twins, right? So yeah, so it might happen. I don't know. Like I said, I'll definitely touch base with Honda and see what's happening on that front. So let's not say never. It might just happen on the 350cc platform.
All right. What had you spotted
Yes,
some questions?
no, I spotted that. There's the comment by Prince Varghese who mentions electric vehicles are not viable in temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius. Batteries tend to bloat and overheat. Varghese, that's not the case. Again, now a lot of the fires that have been happening and thermal runways that have been taking place are not because these vehicles have been operating in extremely hot conditions. Keep in mind, they're running these vehicles. These kind of vehicles run in hotter conditions, also both in China and elsewhere in the world. And these aren't really issues. The issues effectively don't lie on ambient temperature. The issues are essentially with the quality of materials, the quality of construction that's being used. A lot of manufacturers tend to cut corners when they're building battery packs. Essentially, it's the cost of what a manufacturer would want to spend on a battery when they're buying a battery. Well, that would dictate the quality of the battery. Now, what happens is, just as an example, let's say a good quality battery would cost you about 100 rupees. Let's just take it's an example, hypothetical situation. But a lot of manufacturers, essentially the startups as well, what they're doing is they're going and asking for similar capacities but at low prices. So someone would say, I want a battery at 40 rupees instead of the 100 rupees. Now, the only way a vendor can deliver that is by cutting corners, making insulation materials thinner, weaker, and of course, not having the right side of right quality of electrodes, and of course, cooling mechanisms as well on those batteries. So, all of those issues essentially then lead to thermal runaways. Even the BMS, for that matter, is not optimized in that sense. So small concerns like that effectively lead to larger reliability issues, and it's not essentially ambient temperatures. Let's keep that in mind very clearly. Ambient temperatures are not so much of a concern for a lot of these vehicles.
What Siddharth wants to know, what is Mahindra doing to improve the wait times for the XUV 700 and the Thar?
We've already taken this question, Sony.
Oh, we did? Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
we did.
Uh,
There's like tons of questions coming in, guys. There was one about the skateboard platform for the Mahindra. Um, No, sorry, for the Tata Motors vehicle. Yes, Tata EV program seems to be going. This is Shuffmeister. Be going the Tesla way with a skateboard battery pack on the Avinya concept. Do you think this platform style will eventually be seen in all mass market electric cars? Absolutely. What is happening in the future, not just in the future, even now. But the reason we call it skateboard in the electrification business is simply because that skateboard is made up of the battery pack that sits at the bottom, and it is made in such a way that the wheels sit at the extreme edges or the ends corners of it, and that's where the skateboard technology comes in from. But that is no different from existing technologies also that we've got with chassis, for that matter, where the platform or the base chassis is essentially a skateboard style, and over which you can put any top hat. Why is that happening? Also because now the chassis are also becoming integrated members. They're single unit construction members as well. So unibodies in that sense. And this is not new technology. This is existing technology. What we've already seen is a lot of manufacturers almost about a decade ago have already talking about this. How the base would be one, and on top of that you could put on any top hat. Whether you wanted to put a hatchback or a sedan or a SUV, any model would work. Now, in electrification, this becomes simpler because you've got battery pack that's at the bottom, and that becomes your skateboard essentially. And over that, any manufacturer like Tata also, for that matter, will use the Avinya what they showed us. Now we're not sure whether it was a SUV, whether it was a hatchback, whether it was a crossover, whether it was a sedan, whether it was an MPV. Well, Tata Motors hasn't got a clear answer to give us on that as yet. But what essentially it shows us is the direction in which they're heading, and which is that skateboard architecture over which any body style would sit comfortably.
but Lazy Wanderer wants to know, will the Gurkha 5-door come with higher engine tune like the Traveler?
I'm not sure, Lazy Wonder, on what the plans for the Gurkha 5 door are at this point in time. But what I do know is the numbers are dismal, and essentially much work will not be done on them. They may have something to offer, but it's honestly, I mean, not something I would recommend to anybody.
And Vikram wants to know, will Maruti launch a diesel 1.5 liter anytime soon?
Will no, there are no plans for this immediately as well. They've been working on this, but they aren't ready as of yet. Also, keep in mind with the market changing as quickly as it is, more towards electrification, while several more market or regional markets around the country are going against diesels. It doesn't really account for much if Maruti steps into this market with a new diesel. This is the same issue that Volkswagen was plagued with as well. They intended or rather want to get a diesel engine into the market, but they did not have a diesel ready globally that could fit one purpose or rather fit every nation's purposes. And effectively, they also not looking very aggressively going towards dieselification. And whether diesel will stay in the long run or not, I think they've got a short shelf life, probably another 5 years, another 10 years at the most, is when we'll see these diesels, and perhaps beyond that, we will purely see just electric vehicles. So Maruti coming out with the diesel engine, again, very, very sketchy. They've said that they intend to, but how soon is that going to happen is anybody's guess.
Rohit, any news on Ather coming up with new models? Can we expect anything within the next 6 months?
No, I think Bert will be a better person to answer this because he recently was a part of a discussion. But I don't think there are any new models. Are there? Is there anything from Ather, Bert? Because I remember you saying that they want to stabilize the 450X in various cities and make sure that the network is stronger before they think of a new product.
Yes. So what we had a roundtable, we had a discussion with Tarun, and essentially what he had to say was that there were products that they're already working on. They've got products in the pipeline, but currently what they're all focused on is essentially strengthening the Ather, the 450X around the country, its network across the country, and of course working on the EV on the charger base as well to make sure that wherever they're dealing or rather selling Athers is a fully well developed infrastructure network to support all of their electric vehicles for that matter. But however, I do believe by the end of the year, maybe early next year, we will hear about some plans for a new product that Ather is already working on.
All right. And Anish, Thomas wants to know what is a D SUV? He's just curious since he saw it in Mahindra's promotion video.
Dabba SUV, sorry. But I'm not. Your guess is as good as mine, Anish Thomas. I'm not sure what a DSUV is. This is just some marketing guy going off on an entirely different spin and trying to create a new, trying to create some hype and excitement in the market. Like, you who just got excited about what is a DSUV. So that question is going to be raised by a lot more people. So effectively, a lot more people are going to see that video out there. They're going to, oh, there's a new thing called a DSUV. So yes, fantastic. Let's go for it, Mahindra. Let's confuse the audience out there even more than what they are.
So yeah, that's the D segment of SUVs essentially. That is where the XC500 resides, the Safari resides.
So I wonder what the
And
Merc GLS Maybach will be like. No, the Merc GL will be a Z SUV right at the top over there.
oh no, then you're not leaving space for the Cullinans and the Bentaygas of the world.
They all in the Maybach wala range only, no? In
Yeah,
any
right.
Cullinans and Bentaygas and all that, the Maybach GLS and all that. Same Z SUVs. That's the top, right at the
ZSUV.
top over there. Yeah. It's a big, big ocean out there, my friend, and everything else below them a small fish. This is just the deep fish.
All right. Renin wants to know Honda Hybrid versus the Virtus GT, which is your pick for fun and performance?
Whoa, Renan, tough question, but wait for us to do a comparison test on this. We're not giving out anything at this point in time. Nothing that I'm going to say at this point in time. We will wait for a comparison test and we will evaluate all these cars very, very soon.
All right. And one final question before we wrap up the show. Vishal wants to know Tata Altros XZ Plus, non-turbo, or the Nissan Magnite XV Premium?
Um, Tough one. I would still recommend a Nissan Magnite any day, but I'm not too impressed with the quality on either of these cars, the Magnite or the Altros, also for that matter. But I think the Altros is slightly better. They've certainly improved considerably. The sense that I get from the Magnite, and every time I sit in that car, is that things feel cheap, whereas they don't in the Altros. And I think that is a testament to what Tata Motors has done with their products compared to what Nissan is doing with their products.
Okay. Before we wrap up, then we'll
Oh, so
quickly.
Yuvraj has got a very interesting question. Finally, somebody has
I
asked me
saw
this.
that.
Yes, Yuvraj has asked me this question. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull up my and show you this, guys. So right behind there, I've got the map of India. Now, essentially,
Your
something
video
happened to my
what?
camera. Sorry, yeah. So I've got the map of India over there, and I've got a set of darts lying somewhere here. And essentially, this is how I plan all my road trips. I take those darts and just start hitting them onto throwing them onto the map of India, saying, "Okay, fine, here's where I'm going to travel to next." That's essentially what I do. That's why the map of India is there. No, I'm not. I'm not going in for any civil services exams.
Okay, let's quickly take a look at what we have on the show tomorrow at 1 p.m. on CNBC TV 18 and on Sunday at 12:30 and 8 p.m.
A three-row Jeep was long time coming. It's called the Commandia in the global market, and here it's called the Meridian. And I think it looks stunning in this shade of red. This is the Honda City EHEV, the hybrid variant of the popular Honda City. So if you are choosing this, you are obviously choosing this for the extended range, the lower emissions, etc. So instead of doing a regular review, what we are going to do today is actually test the range of this vehicle in the city. And what better place to do it than Bangalore? You don't need a crystal ball to tell what Tata's cars are going to look like in the future. You just have to look at their concept cars, because their concept cars are very, very close to their production cars. Now, I've got Martin Ulrich with me to take us through the design of this path-breaking car, which is going to show us what Tata cars are going to look like maybe about 3 to 4 years from now.
All right, so don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. And I'm going to put this one comment just to remind people, and thank you so much for even noting this. Aman, right at the beginning, had written heartiest congratulations to the whole Overdrive team for bagging gold at ENBA 2021 for the second time in a row. You deserve it. Thanks so much, Aman. And we're very happy about it as well.
Thank you guys, and do watch the show on CNBC TV 18, and continue to follow us, subscribe, like, and watch our videos on YouTube as well. And do follow us on social media also. We're making a bit of an effort to get a little more action going on our social media handles. And of course, there was some good news for all of y'all, and I'm being the forgetful sort. I was going to say the D word over here, but I'm not going to do that. I forgot to carry the trophy that we won at the ENBA Awards 2022. Again, to the office, I had to show you this on the video. And Sony's, she's got a smile, she's got a grin over there, but inside she's seething. But she's got a trophy somewhere. I know that she's got something with that. But Overdrive won the News and Broadcasting Award for the best automotive television show in India for the sixth time. It's a proud moment. Thank you to everyone who's watching us over there, inspiring us, pushing us to get our content out in much better ways than whatever we've done in the past. And we continue to get out those fantastic videos. And thank you to a fantastic team as well, who've done a tremendous job. Given our crazy schedules, given the amount of work that we've got lined up, our bare minimum resources also, and of course the conditions across the country, we still managed to get out some tremendous stories to you. And congratulations to the entire Overdrive team. And thank you to everybody out there who keeps supporting us. So see you guys. Have a nice weekend. The beer's on you.
But would you even want to tell people that Overdrive is, are you still hiring?
Well, we're still hiring. Actually, guys, we're hiring. Yes, but I've got a tremendous backlog of emails, and I'm still trying to answer and trying to assess who the right people or not. But yes, if you think you have it in you to join the team, then we're looking out for writers, we're looking out for videographers, we're looking out for video editors, and we're looking for social media managers. That's why I said we're getting stronger on our social media profiles as well. So do send in an email to jobs@overdrive.co.in, and we'll take a look at them and we'll come back to you. For those guys who are watching and perhaps haven't had a response from me in some time, the last 2 weeks have gone by in a blur of travel and a lot of activity, which is why I could not respond to those applications. But I have started doing that from today as well, and I will get back to you very very soon about those. But yes, do give it a shot. It's keep in mind. Well, it's a life-changing job, but it's a lot of hard work. It's a very tough job and very very demanding. And I'm a demanding boss. You can just ask Sohini and Rohit all about it. So yes, well, have fun there, guys, and do apply if you're looking out for a career in automotive journalism.
Just before we wrap up, I hope you guys have turned on the the subscription button, so you know when we upload the latest videos. The C class walk around video is already up on our YouTube channel. It's just been published, so you can check that out. And the review, as I mentioned, is going to be up on Monday. And there's going to be a new Skoda video as well pretty soon in the next couple of hours. So do check that out as well.